You guys can't see anything right now, but we're just testing out the audio. So let me know how everything mixes together, if everything sounds good. I'm going to introduce you to our guest today. Preliminarily, that's probably not the way you should say it, but here they are. It's John and Wytze of Ostrich Banditos. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty well. How are you, Nelson?
I'm doing pretty well. I noticed you guys just launched. You're in the Netherlands, so it's pretty much 2 a.m. and I see that your life force has been sucked out.
Our life force is very present, and we are not tired at all.
You know that point when you're down to having lost all your hats? We're not wearing any hats.
No, the hats are definitely gone.
In most other games, this is where you'd hear that beepy sound.
Yeah, I'll see the red borders.
The red borders.
Yeah.
Audio sounds great, apparently.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's good.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to do a quick thing. And then you'll hear and see the game. 1 second, everybody.
Nice.
Alright, GamesMatter, we're beginning in 3, 2, 1. And you can see their lovely faces in the bottom right-hand corner.
Woo!
Wave hello. Say hello. Wave. Do something.
How you guys doing? I'm John.
Hey guys, I'm Wytze.
I'm sort of disappointed you guys didn't like...
I waved my hand outside the screen. That's how we do.
Wave with the other hand.
Oh, the other hands.
I'm sort of disappointed you guys couldn't at least like pop out of a cake or do something special for us or something.
Maybe
Pop
next time.
cake. Oh, well, we're going to have a launch party.
I thought this was a launch party.
This is like online launch party. We're gonna have like physical launch party on like Tuesday.
Yeah, with people and drinks and music.
Yeah, but for various reasons we couldn't have it sooner. I mean, at that point we will have the cake, and maybe you can like, you know, do something with that. But at the moment, no cake.
No cake.
Awesome.
I've got a gun somewhere. Oh, the gun lost the top.
It's a sawed-off revolver.
Is that going to be a future game added to the? Is that going to be a future gun added to the title?
Yeah, and it will have a 50% chance to shoot yourself in the face.
Like the chicken gun.
Yeah, like the chicken gun.
Wait, there's an actual chicken gun in the game?
No.
There was a hack for the chicken gun, but yesterday it was more broken than it was intended to be.
Yeah. So what the chicken gun used to do is it would just, instead of firing, it would just shoot a chicken, and then if it hit somebody, it would kill the person, and the chicken would just land plop down on the ground.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if you'd miss, the chicken would just fly and then die on the ground, just like.
Yeah.
But what happened was, because it was broken, instead of throwing it, you were throwing it from behind you forward, and you would hit yourself in the head, and you would kill yourself.
Yeah. That's chicken suicide.
And then a chicken would be standing there in your wake.
So it's
But that's not representative of the game, guys.
so it's the ultimate test of your love for chicken nuggets.
Yes?
I suppose so.
Chicken nuggets to the back of the head?
Well, I mean, eat it through the front, eat it through the back, love it either way, right? So yeah,
I've heard about eyes in the back of your head, but a mouth in the back of your head, that's a new one.
Who's talking about eyes in the head?
I have no idea what we're talking about anymore. I think I'm almost as tired as you guys at this point. It's probably
Why did it cross the road? Because she used the chicken gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so
And thanks for
you
hosting
got
us, Kempy. Yeah, you were saying?
you got the game open there.
Yes,
so
I
what's the plan for this this little stream of Games Matter?
The plan for the stream is to show off the game and show off you guys and talk about your awesome creation and the time you put into it. So, hello everybody, this is Nelson for Video Games Bible and Games Matter. It's so awesome to be with you guys again. If you're wondering for the potential concerns for this title, I tweeted about it a few weeks ago. I had the chance to try it pre-release, and even then, in its unfinished glory, it was absolutely amazing. And the game just launched a few hours ago. And I have the absolute pleasure of bringing on with us today the developers of the title, well, some of the developers of the title, John and Wytze of the Ostrich Banditos. Say hello to them, guys.
Hi guys, I'm John.
Hey y'all, I'm Wytze.
So,
Wait,
so I have the game open, and sort of for the uninitiated, what is Westerado? How would you best describe it? Because I think you can do a better job than me, considering how much time you spent on the game.
Westerado is an action-adventure RPG detective western.
Or it's a spaghetti western head simulator. Or it may also be...
A Wild West simulator. That's
Yeah.
the easiest one.
yeah.
It's, you know, a narrative game with interesting mechanical liberties.
And shooting pew pew.
Shooting pew pew.
Yeah.
We had a really, really long one at one point where we literally just put like every genre you could in the title, and it basically worked.
Yeah, it was... What was it again? Choose your own adventure, interactive, storytelling,
I can't remember.
shooty pew pew.
So it's essentially a procedural Western detective game.
That's right. We always forget about the procedural part.
Yeah.
Yeah, where-
It's not very procedural either.
It's got a little bit of procedure.
Well, every time you
Procedure
play the
credits.
game, you're trying to find the murderer of your family and all that different stuff. And so,
It's what we like to call a systemic main plot.
Yes, that's a very
We
good
like to
way
call
of
it
putting
that?
That's what I like to call it.
Okay.
When I wrote my paper on, non-linearity for graduation.
Did it get you through graduation? Did you graduate after writing the paper?
Well, so that was actually my third year paper that I had to catch up on for the fourth year so that I could graduate. Yes, I did get through graduation. I was a bit late. but
So,
that's okay.
when you first play the game, you play as Hero, and you have to unlock all of the different characters through some really interesting methods. For me personally, I'm just have a little story to tell, a confession. I played the game pre-release. I put 14 hours into this game. Unlocked all the characters, and only to go to the developers and be like, "Hey guys, I did all this," and they were like, "Yeah, you're very dedicated. You still haven't seen half of it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" And then they started telling me some of the awful things I could do, like having the brother at the beginning of the game get killed by coyotes, and have Indians
Why should
Coyotes.
do that?
and
That's
have
cruel.
and rob a bank, and have Indians and the oil tycoon take over the town at the same time, which is somehow possible.
Yep.
It is.
It's really interesting. It's really brilliant, and it has and though however rough you may say it is, or someone can suggest it is, it has a real heart behind it. And so I'm really glad to show it off to you guys today, and have the developers on. So the shotgun, the sis has her shotgun. She's my personal favorite character, so I'm glad the chat picked that. we're going to not. Oh, we have to skip the tutorial though if we pick to play as sister. So I don't get to have the brother get killed by coyotes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a little sad. I mean, you may want to play through the tutorial once just to show it off.
Yeah.
I don't know if people here have seen it.
No, I don't think they have, because the game just launched. I mean, I guess my first question would be, what is launch like for you guys? Like, you've been working on it for so long, since the original browser game got so much attention way back when, and now here's the full game in all its glory. How does it feel? What is launch like?
Launch is always like, you're tired, you've put your little sort of baby out there that you don't really... I mean, you believe in your baby now more than the first time. The first time was really, like,
we
hopeless.
Didn't expect anything at all.
Yeah, we were just like, got our money, we're gonna get out now.
Yeah.
You know, but then we got all the response, and so for this one, it's really been much more of a labor of love, I think. The first time was also a labor of love, but this time more so.
Yeah, we also
And,
had the time to actually make a labor of love instead of having to just get it out there.
Yeah, so I mean, we're tired, we're sending messages to everybody. We did the stream. I think that's the newest thing for us, because we haven't done streams before, and doing a 5-hour stream is pretty deadly. So that, on top of just all the nervousness of our website's going to cover it, you know, what are players going to think, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, Metacritic doesn't really matter that much for us, but it matters a little bit, you know, like, you feel it if you get the crappy reviews, but you live with it. I think, like, this time it's been easier for me to deal with the crappy reviews than last time.
Yeah, I think also has been for me, but like there's still a lot of reviews to come, and that's
true.
That's kind of
That's the nerve-wracking part.
yeah.
Whether the reviews come or not.
Yeah. I think that's what's most annoying and most exciting about launch is that
Hey, he got the money.
Yeah.
it doesn't actually all happen at once. It's not like you release the game and then you immediately see the results of it, but you actually have to wait for days or weeks or sometimes even months to see if the game will actually pick up and, you know, become a success or something.
Yeah.
It's not an instant thing, even though it feels like, oh, we finally released. We even had a countdown, but you know what even happens at the countdown? It means people can now click buttons to buy the game, but you won't see the effects of it until hours or days after.
We can see some effects of it.
Yeah, a
Like,
little.
we can see click-through and stuff, but it's not.
And did you get any reactions before the title's released, like from press and stuff? Because I know, at least personally, I tweeted that. When I saw the pixel art for the first time and I came to this first scene, I literally gasped. It was that good.
Thanks. Yeah. We did get quite a lot of great press.
Yeah.
From a lot of smaller guys, it's always nice to get press from everybody. And so that's always nice. It sort of pushes you forward through it.
Yeah. But it's really the big guys that you're waiting for, because those are the ones that are gonna reach a lot of people, and those are the ones that,
well,
you know, they partly decide the success of your game, because if they don't cover you, then people aren't gonna know your game, and if they do cover you and it's bad, then they're not gonna buy the game, and if they do cover you and it's great, then people are gonna pick it up.
In comparison, when the first game came out, we had, like, I don't know, 40,000 plays in the first week or something, and then.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but tell me, like, for those for the uninitiated, Westerado was originally a browser game on Adult Swim Games, and because of sort of the central mechanic that you can pull out your gun and shoot anybody at any time once you get it, it really got a lot of attention. So, what was the making of the original browser game like?
Making of the original browser game, well, we had a little prototype just with the mechanics of drawing your gun, cocking your gun, shooting your gun. And then we were like, we think this could be a fun idea to add to conversations based on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which had a scene with Lee Van Cleef, who didn't actually use his gun to do it. He would just stared very intimidatingly and managed to convince the guy. But both the Good and the Ugly used their guns in that movie to intimidate people and get them to do things for them.
Did you guys ever consider making a mechanics centered around staring at people very intimidatingly?
Well, the game has always been pixel art, So there have never been eyes in the game. So I think like that's just inherent that everybody's staring at each other very intimidatingly. So
no one is.
Just take that with you throughout the game. Just imagine everyone giving you a wily eye, even that buffalo.
Yeah, they're the shifty-eyed buffalo, right?
Shifty-eyed buffalo.
Yeah.
Who wrote that text, actually? I think that must have
know.
been Matt Schwartz, I think, probably,
Wouldn't surprise me.
back in the day.
So how many people worked on the original game?
6 total.
Just 6 total, plus the Adult Swim testers.
And the musicians.
Management. Yeah, so like the first time we were working on the game, we had a lot more sort of like guidance from Adult Swim because the game wasn't really a game yet. You know, it just wasn't a thing. It like the very first version was just one giant open world, and that caused a whole bunch of problems, both structurally and memory-wise. And so they helped us through some of that, and really we were nervous the whole time because we were like, is this going to turn into a game at all? And so every time we were going to do some little change, we just thought, we've got to run this past Adult Swim. We've got to run this past Adult Swim. Like, are they going to, is this okay? This is different from the design document, you know? And then this time around, it's really just been like, we've got a pretty clear idea what we want to do with it, how we want to expand it, how we want to finish things. And it still wasn't exactly that, but
I think it's also because the first time we created most of the structure and most of the mechanics of the game, so the second time around it was mostly polishing the things we already had and making more content and more interesting content.
So essentially we spent 4 months making a very broken experience. And then we spent a year and 4 months trying to make it a decent game. That's how I see it. But I mean, a lot of people did like that first game, and I think it's what attracted them to it was partially just being able to pull out your gun at any point, and partially just being able to shoot anybody and having to live with the consequences.
I think that was the thing that really hit me, because I told you guys, like, when there wasn't like some big notification like the oil tycoon will remember this or your uncle will remember this. It was simply the fact that you could pull out your gun at any time. You didn't know what would happen, and although you could sort of kind of fix your mistakes if you shot somebody critical or if you tried to, you would have to deal with the consequences, and that was really freeing and terrifying at the same time. And so, did players react well to that?
Yeah, I mean that was the selling point, and like so one of the interesting things is in the game, in every single conversation, I have to consider that option. What if you pull out your gun now? What if next dialogue option, you pull out your gun now? And if you actually look at how often players pull out their gun, it's not actually very often, and it's really the tension of that option being there is really what drives the experience. Like, they don't even have to ever pull out their gun during a conversation to feel it all the way through. Just like the same way they never have to see the murderer directly during the whole experience to feel his presence. They sort of are keeping an eye out for him. And just that tension of, is he here? Is he there? Like, checking the poster, looking around. So those two tensions really are what I think made the game sort of work structurally.
Do you guys know how many people have shot the brother instead of trying to walk out?
Do we have an achievement for that? We might be able to. I'll. That's not the right mouse.
No, that's the wrong mouse.
Get rid of that mouse.
I don't know why it's over there.
I can look up some achievement stuff. I can't say per player, but we might be able to get some interesting information here. I'm just going to move this over here.
There was a Scottish dude in the stream today, in the stream before launch that you guys did, talking about that, he said it's not hard to make a Scottish man, it's hard to make a Scottish man sad, but seeing his family die 8 times in the browser version.
Yep, yeah. I'm always surprised when people tell us how often they've played it. Because, like, I mean, we've played it a ton of times to just test stuff. But, like, when you hear somebody say, like, oh, I played through the intro 8 times, or I played the game 100 times, which was the case with the first one for some people.
100 hours.
100 hours.
Yeah.
There was also, like, one of the first messages on the Adult Swim boards for the first version was, this game crashed on me 9 times.
It's
Like,
why did you even try 9 times? Are you insane? Why would you play a game that crashes each
yeah,
time?
I'm like, I would have dropped that game.
After the second time, I'd be done with it.
I'd be like, I'd be doing something else. But
Yeah. But for some reason, people like it enough to put themselves through that misery.
You guys are great at promoting your game and how amazing
No,
it
this
is.
was the old version. The
This
new
is the
version is
old
great, and that's why you should buy
Yeah.
the new version.
So the new version doesn't have all those crashes. It's
No.
super stable.
It's very stable.
Like 99.99999% of the time.
Yeah, apparently unless a storm takes out your power, then it might do some crash. But, you know,
That's sort of what happens when your PC loses the power.
yeah, it'll cause problems.
Okay, let's see in journal here if we can find anything.
So my uncle came up with me when he told me to go to bed. Did he tuck me in? Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's sort of just, making sure you find it. It's like a light tutorialized element. Very light.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you played the first game. The first game had arrows throughout the whole
Yeah.
tutorial. It was just like, we don't know how to tell you what to do. We don't know how to lead you. Here's some arrows. Just follow the arrows.
My main goal in the tutorial of this game was to get rid of the arrows and to make it somewhat more interesting and to introduce more elements more subtly and more elegantly, I guess.
Yeah, some things are just game design,
Yeah.
But you can see it as him tucking you in. I like that interpretation. I mean, the pixels allow you to interpret every scene, just like somebody staring at you menacingly or lovingly. Just depends on how you read it.
So there's...
One of the reasons we also didn't make the portraits super detailed was just because A, animating super detailed portraits is a heck of a lot of work, but B, then you'll probably get an expression that says something and isn't as usable in all situations.
Yeah.
And right now we're allowing the player to sort of interpret the expressions, more based on the physicality of their actions, and sort of it's like old cartoons where you could more easily place yourself in them because they were simpler. And I think Pixar games still have that.
Rancher Cobb wants me to challenge him to a gunfight.
Rancher Cobb loves himself a shootout. Shoot down.
Gunfight.
No, shoot down, gun out. Fight
Gun
show.
out.
Fight show. I don't know. There we go. Gun down.
Showdown.
No, gun down. Shoot fight. I can't remember. I wrote that all
Love
a
me a
while ago.
gunfight. Just a gunfight then.
Don't shoot him multiple times.
Yeah, don't kill him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, we try to give every rancher sort of his own character because it's very easy to make characters just all sound the same, as you'll notice with some of the townlings. And for the ranchers, I really wanted them to each have their own flavor. So Rancher Cobb is all gung-ho all the time. If you run into Rancher Bell up there, he talks all in Westernisms.
Yeah, you can't understand what he's saying.
Well, I wrote him, so I know
Yeah,
what he's
you
saying.
know what he's saying, but...
But it's also like Westernisms as, interpreted by my brain and spat out through different grammatical structures.
Did you have to... I know you guys are based in the Netherlands. How much research did you guys have to do to nail the really Western speak and to make sure that everything sounded, I guess, Western-y?
Watch a lot of Western movies is what I did. And then speak in a drawl all the time. And then aside from that, just look up things that are interesting about the West, and then just find information and details and jokes and...
Yeah, I know back when I was still writing in the first game, I usually had a couple pages open with slang and stuff like that, and then sometimes you'd look up some more background information on Westerns and on...
This game I did some stuff into the army, looked into the army, figuring out what are actual marching commands and stuff like that,
Wait, so they had jokes back in the Wild West? They didn't just go around shooting each other in the face?
That was a joke. Yeah, they'd make a joke by shooting someone in the face, saying, "Ha, that was funny, wasn't it?"
They like a lot of similes. comparing things to each other in funny ways. That's sort of their way of doing it.
Ah, okay, okay. So,
Uh,
how much of the research you guys did, how much did that make it into the game?
I have no idea.
It's
It's
just
unquantifiable. I mean,
yeah. It's just inspiration you use, or just
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like I'll literally take a word from somewhere and just throw it straight in, and sometimes it'll just be inspiration. So, like the old miner in town, which we might go and meet up with at some point, he is based on the Cajun cook Justin Wilson, which is why he's got all those French words thrown in there, and also why his specific speech pattern has all the weird grammatical nuances in the fact that whenever he's talking in present tense, he uses a past tense verb and stuff. And nobody knows how to read him right, but I think that's sort of fun. Like, everybody interprets that differently, too.
Okay,
Some
deader,
people
deader, around Clintville. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just found a bounty.
Mm-hmm. Deader, deader.
Yep.
Who is the guy?
He's a man in a light blue bandana, and you know those types.
Right.
So, actually, writing this game must have been like a lot of work because you have all the different lines for the main characters. You have the townspeople.
Yeah, so actually, the secret there, all the townspeople are written by Yordi, which is why the start of the game I think is pretty funny, because he wrote all of those options where it's just like, it was you! Like, I didn't have the patience to write that for everybody. Like, he did that a lot more often than I did. I tried to work it into a couple of characters that I was writing, but I didn't have as much patience as he did. I just let the gun speak for itself. But yeah, it's pretty darn complicated. And like Wytze doesn't write, but he still gets a lot of the brunt of it too, because there's a lot of situations. So if we just talk about like the ranchers, like Rancher Cobb, he's got those buffalo. And there's any number of reasons why you either can't communicate with Rancher Cobb anymore, or that his buffalo are free, and all of those have to be done via triggers and variables being set on Wytze's end, which then tells me something on the conversation end, so that I can interpret where a character needs to be and what they need to say.
So wait, you can't just type into a computer, make a procedurally generated detective western game where you can shoot people? It isn't that easy?
Well, I mean, all you do is type. But no. It's not easy. You do have to type it all.
yeah.
And sometimes use your mouse, I mean, to click things.
Click things and type things.
What was the most difficult part of development? Because obviously there's a lot of different complications. Whoa, 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 whoa.
What's going on?
Okay, shotguns, guns everywhere. I just walked into
we must have a slight delay on your
Yeah,
video.
we do.
Oh, you ran into some wanted bandits.
Yeah,
Oh.
you shouldn't have done that.
They give you a warning, but you kept walking. Heed the warning of wanted bandits. The hardest part, I think, like for me, I wrote a lot of intros, and that was a really fun part, was just writing intros to all the characters, which is probably why a lot of the characters just shot. Well, he just stood back right up.
I think that's
Did he give money again? Did he give money twice?
no, just once.
Oh,
no.
just the one.
The Undertaker saw me, and actually the wanted bandit got shot by his buddy.
That can happen. Get some distance on that guy with the shotgun. There you go. So the hardest part, so like the really fun part was writing a lot of the introductions and a lot of the sort of more puzzly reactions, so there's things later on in the game. So when to draw your gun and that kind of stuff, and like trying to put in some drama into characters so that you sort of feel the drama. But then like wrapping up all of their narrative arcs was tricky.
Because it has
it's
to be
just like-
satisfying for the player, and also your game is very non-linear. You can go, like I can go and I have to clear out the train tunnels, and I have to find the drunk husband, but I can just go out and do whatever I want, and so that complicates things.
Exactly, and like for instance, with the drunk husband, originally you could get the drunk husband, and he would come out and he would follow you, and you could just run around with him everywhere. So he would follow you to the ends of the earth, this drunk husband, trying to get back to his wife.
So it creates some emergent narrative right there.
Right, but I mean, like, so then you have to think, okay, what happens if the drunk husband gets killed while his wife is nearby? What happens if the drunk husband gets killed
In the
saloon? What happens if the drunk guy gets killed outside of Clintville, where the wife doesn't know about it? You know, and, like, often you don't think about all those things all at once. You, like, think, oh, saloon, Clintville. And then you solve those, and you have the wife run in when you shoot the drunk husband. She'll run in and, like, have this little bit of drama there. And then if you shoot him near her, then she'll get angry and start shooting at you. And then we just didn't even think, like, oh, what if you walk outside of Clintville? Because it's such a small little mission. And you just forget about those things. They just slip through, and then you have to find them out later. And so, in the end, I think we must have had, like, 8 to 10 weeks of just bugs.
Yeah.
And, like,
least.
missing links.
I think more than that. I think we've been spending the last
We had, like,
3
seven
months at least.
We had 7 weeks very structured, and then
Yeah.
we had many weeks unstructured.
Yeah, I think it's about 4
And we had
months.
weeks before that too. Yeah.
It's probably about 4 months of just fixing bugs mostly, which gets really tiring because it's not interesting in a creative way or interesting in the way that it, adds something new to the game. It's mostly just making sure that it starts to function the way it should function.
Yeah.
And that's just boring work, really.
And because everything is like non-linear, like it could just break somewhere super early on, or like a whole route could just not show up because of some dumb mistake you made early on that's just stopping the conversation. And then, people don't even realize they should be testing it because like it's very hard to communicate as well all of the different paths and all of the different possibilities without them just understanding the tool. And we didn't take the time to try and teach anybody else the tool at Adult Swim or testers or anything. So
speaking of tools, what tools did you guys use to develop the game? And real quick before you say that, I just want to say I love this line because if you say that, the wife sent me to help, the drunk husband's like, don't you be helping yourself to my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, he's interpreting your actions differently.
Yeah. She asked me to bring her home.
Oh, sure.
I don't want to. I'm going to stay right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what tools did you use to develop the game?
Well, should we start with the basics? We had
basics.
ActionScript 3, which, is used for Flash, but we specifically used it with Adobe Air to get it onto Steam for Mac and Windows. And then the tools we actually used in making it are all in-house tools. Some of them...
Don't forget Flash Developer Programming.
In Flash Developer Programming. And so actually, we have a level editor and a script editor that Wytze uses primarily. But those were actually originally based on the Ogmo editor.
Yeah.
We used the Ogmo editor for the first game. I don't know if you know the Ogmo editor, but it's a freeware game, freeware program that you can use to make levels. And it's mostly for tile-based games. So our game was not suited for it at all. Because it was mostly, like, when you're designing a level like this, like our game obviously it layers everything through, but in a level editor you most of the time can't layer things like that because you just have like 6 layers or something. You don't have this whole layering system. And we could have maybe made a more interesting level editor that actually allowed us to see that, but I think Ogmo allowed some things to be useful, like selecting all the buildings at once and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Man,
So it doesn't always look like what you expect.
this is a pretty hardcore murderer to hit the sheriff in the face with a belt buckle.
Yeah, so this is part of the procedural aspect. So, like, each of these hints is randomized. So, I have a funky structure for that. I sorted out the hints depending on whether they were they had a narrative aspect to them, or whether they were just description, or whether they were like a first-person perspective. And then depending on the context of the character, I would select, should it be a description one, should it be a narrative one, or should it be a first-person perspective one, or could it be any of them depending on some situations. And then it'll pick a hint that fits it and fits the right value that we want to give at that point. So whether it's a good or a medium or a bad hint, and then it'll fit that in there. So there's a whole lot of workarounds for that too. Notably, the Native American characters have a lot of workarounds for that. But so it's supposed to feel like it's coming from that character, but that's like a technical part of the procedural generation.
So I'm in a gunfight right now, and I'm seeing that I just shot off a person's hat, and I was able to wear it. Can you tell us a little bit about the hat system, and why the brother hates wearing hats so much? Does he like his hair to just wave freely in the cool winter sun?
So, like, the hat has a lot of significance just in Westerns to start with. You know, the whole white hat, black hat thing, and we didn't really take the color into here, but we sort of took the idea of your hat being an aspect of your life, sort of a representation. And the way I see it is the brother is sort of not taking a side by not wearing a hat.
So there's some deep philosophical underpinnings here.
Super deep stuff. I haven't talked about this with the rest of the teammates.
I just first time I heard it. I just thought it was fun that he didn't have a hat.
That's how I think about it. You know, we all interpret things differently, but that's why I sort of like it. And I think you already just drew him without a hat. Our artist drew him without a hat because it's clear that he's not you. In the start, it's like, oh, this is clearly a different character. It also humanizes him, you know, because he's like going to die. It like helps that you see more of his face, rather than just sort of the shadow over his face. Like he's more innocent in a way by not having a hat, by not like having the, you know, the protection.
Because everybody knows mothers don't trust your sons to be wearing hats. So
yeah.
Every time I meet someone, they run away before I can ask for their help. You were saying?
In the end, it's also kind of convenient that he didn't have a hat because we changed the hat system at some point so that when you lose all 3 hats, you just walk around without a hat.
Yeah.
You know, at some point it was actually if you...
Your last hat was your last life.
Yeah, so if you still had a hat on and you got shot in the chest, then you just died because you didn't have any hats left. But if someone shot your head off,
you would still run around.
Wearing your last hat, then you would still run around, but without a hat. And people also didn't really realize that they were in danger, that they, you know, that they were risking their life by not, well, by being on the last hat.
Yeah, so it's a really good communication tool that the brother dies without a hat.
Yeah.
And that you end up without a hat once you've lost 3 of them.
Yeah.
The sister, of course, is an exception to that because
we didn't think
everything in the game has exceptions. We couldn't find a way to make hats work nicely on female sprites.
Yeah, we also, I think we discovered too, like the change to the hat system that came too late, and then the sprite sheets had already been made for such a long time. Otherwise, we could have found a solution to that, I think.
So a lot of it is just trying to do what you can in the time you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely,
and
definitely.
You try and make the best choices, but if you've already made a choice for something, so for instance, like the sister sprite sheet, because she has the little tie-up, it would mean that she has to run around with her hair down the whole time, and that
would be cool. But...
Which would be cool, but the hair was literally in the sprite sheet, and it's not like the hats are actually like, I think, 14 frames, 16 frames, something like that, and then they're set depending on the frame of the animation, and they're located based on a red dot in the sprite sheet that then locates the hat depending on the frame.
So there's some... So for when
very technical, but
the player sees a hat, and what's actually going on is a lot more underneath the surface.
Yeah, a lot more, and that also allows you to like shoot off the hat more easily because you know it's just a position in the game.
Yeah, and it makes it easy to swap out hats.
It makes it easy to swap out the hats. So like in the first game, we didn't have multiple hats. Like we just had the generic hat. So like that hat was just in the sprite sheet. Yeah, I can't tell you anything about that scene because that's all Yordi, and he keeps his secrets well.
Yeah, he actually keeps secrets within the team on purpose.
He's got some long-term plan there that you'll have to ask him about sometime.
Yeah, I still don't know what exactly the plan is.
All my secrets are sort of like minor. They're just like, oh, I wrote this fun bit of dramatic flavor that nobody's gonna find. you know, or I wrote this fun little just like option here, or this little bit of humor, or I added this little extra plot line that doesn't really matter if you miss it. But like he puts in these secrets where you're like, what does it mean? And there's just no answer. It's just like
it's like Twin Peaks.
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's answers. Well, I guess David Lynch is always like that. Yeah, those bottles can't be shot.
Yeah, still sad about that.
He's still sad about that. You could have done on stuff.
But
yeah, but then I would have had to take all of those locations where we use that sort of thing, and I discovered
That's
too
true.
late that, you know, it sucks
Yeah.
that you can't shoot them.
Or Yudun could have systemically replaced them all, but then he would have had to do that.
Yeah, no.
actually, the interesting thing is, so I was supposed to clear out the train tunnels,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have, and I played through the section several times. I could have at surface level gunned them down, but I was happening to try to help out my ghost buddy here, find his pickaxe, and he scared
Yep.
them, and he scared them all out. And that isn't, when you have your journal and all your quest objectives, that isn't explicitly stated. It isn't like a modern AAA game where it's like, okay, you can do it by doing this, this, or this.
Optional.
A lot of the really amazing stuff you can do is sort of unstated and very logical. So,
Yeah, I mean,
did
I think
did that break a lot of things?
that broke tons of things.
Oh yeah, that's
the
one
time.
of the reasons things get broken. It's like
Like-
we want this to be possible, and then you have to think of all the situations
I
that
mean,
are
that's-
made possible by that choice.
Those were literally some of the first things that got us like inspired and excited. Were like things like going on the Buffalo Drive, either on the rancher side or on the Beefhead Bulls side. Like that sounds really cool, but you know, like then you build all this content in for the Beefhead Bulls, and then they're completely inaccessible if you do one thing wrong, and you just have to sort of either live with that or come up with other solutions. And so like we wanted to have everybody sort of interact with each other, have all the characters actually have relationships to each other and goals that conflicted with each other, and that you could actually sort of read them and feel them and try and pick one. And usually you're just told, oh, go with this faction or go with that faction and follow along their storylines. And
Yeah.
like this one, it's like you can sort of be more flexible on that. And that's what got us excited about it, but it also caused the most headaches possible.
Yeah, but
in
without
game.
that, it wouldn't be as interesting.
Without that, it wouldn't be Westerado, you know?
yeah.
Also, we've never made a linear game. So, I mean, I haven't made a linear game. So I don't even know.
How many games have you guys developed in the past?
We've all worked on like different games too, because
Yeah.
when we've all studied game design,
Yeah,
like
and then you
in a
get
4-year course. You get thrown in different teams and stuff, and you work on different things.
you work on like 3 to 4, no, like 2 to
2 to
4 month
3,
projects.
yeah, 2 to 3 projects a year
yeah,
at least.
yeah.
So we've all worked on different projects of different levels of quality, so don't go rooting in our backlogs. I worked on a high voltage before Westerado, then Westerado double barreled. Done some other things on the side.
I actually designed a board game for children in primary school,
Yeah.
which was pretty.
I worked in a
Ultimate.
theater company for a while, an interactive theater company. Made a game for 60 people live in a space. That was pretty fun to sort of
Wow.
replicate the market. So I mean, we've all worked on different stuff, but like even that's like stuff in interactive theater is similarly searching for those non-linear scenarios, or at least the people I was working with. They sort of look down on people who are basically just doing linear stuff with branching points. So that's probably why it fit me.
I think
Probably why I went there.
I think we all had some sort of an idea of, yeah, screw the AAA companies that are too lazy to make a game work like this. We're gonna do
Yeah.
it with the 5 of us.
Well, so like, I wouldn't say.
So there was
AAA
some
companies are
bravado in
lazy.
Westerado.
No. I mean, they're not lazy, but
There is definitely a bravado because we're like young punks and we think we can do what
Yeah.
we want and get away with it.
yeah.
Like real bandits, real banditos. But so like I take it back to when I went to GDC 2014, last year's one.
Yeah.
And there was a talk by one of the lead designers, one of the lead writers from BioWare. And like she was describing how they write conversations, and it's literally like, okay, in the first conversation, you never have them say hello or something because that's just a waste of time. You have them immediately sort of like start talking about what they're going to get at, and then at that point, you always have to give the player skip options straight to the end of the conversation, which gives them all the information they need for the mission. And otherwise, there's some alternate options for flavor, which could lead to some side plot lines developing slightly differently. And I was like, you write every conversation that way?
Yeah, that must be boring.
Drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Be incredibly boring. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I see it. Maybe they see it more from a writer's perspective, that they really get to bring out the dramatic emphasis of the plot. But to me, it just sounded mind-numbing. And yeah, I think just in our own, we were just sort of guilty of being selfish, that we wanted to make it interesting for ourselves.
Yeah.
How it worked.
Definitely.
And like, there's still some things, like you said, getting the Native Americans in the main town as well as the oil rigs. Like, that's a thing that can happen, that we sort of had an inkling could happen, but they're two completely different systems, which just, if you happen to do them in the right order, it'll happen. And
I did make sure that it was actually possible in the triggers. Like,
yeah.
I didn't want to prevent that from being possible.
You didn't specifically prevent it.
No. I went out of my way to make sure that it worked.
Right. But that was sort of later on. That was like, first the systems got built completely
Yeah.
separately. And it's sort of interesting just to sort of work that way in sort of a piecemeal style, where you've just got like this piece and this piece and this piece, and they sort of all work individually, but they also have all these weird overlaps.
Yeah.
You're sort of leaving the space there.
If we work on Westerado again, I'd want to focus on that even more, if possible. But that means it would have to be more systemic than it is.
Yeah.
Because the game's really pretty...
I think we're doing it as much as we can with sort of... I mean, even though it's a non-linear game, like, each of the characters has what I would call a branching narrative. And it's kind of crazy how it branches, and sometimes it loops back to other bits. But that's the essence, you know. They've got a starting point, and they've got sometimes multiple ending points. And depending on what you do during the game and what you do during conversations, you will get to one of those ending points. Or you'll stop somewhere in the middle, or you'll shoot them, you know? And so it's sort of the game that makes it non-linear, the game structure that makes it non-linear. But the actual characters are sort of linear, in a way. They're branching.
So, Petey the pickaxe took my ghost friend. Can I shoot the pickaxe?
You're mad at the pickaxe for stealing your friend.
You are always
Dang
allowed
you,
to express
Petey.
yourself.
Dang you.
You're always allowed to express yourself through firing your gun.
And that's an interesting thing, because you were talking about linearity, and an interesting thing that's often spoken about is player expression. And how much can you express how you want to play through a platformer, and etc., etc., etc. So you got a side-scrolling open RPG built in, essentially Flash, which some people look down upon, but is actually, it served you guys very well, obviously. So
yeah, it caused some problems with Linux, but aside from that.
Yeah, and it's not always the best when it comes to optimization.
Yeah, but that's not my problem. I don't take care of that.
And actually, an interesting thing is, whenever you're building a game, having a team is finding a good team, or at least a team that you can not kill each other for a certain period of time. That's really difficult. So, how did you guys find each other?
There were periods of time where we probably wanted to kill each other.
Yeah.
Yep. Wytze's cold-blooded over here.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been really annoyed with each and every person on the team, and I think that goes for everyone to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's just
I think it's something you have to work through a little bit. I think like I'm having less issues with it nowadays than I used to.
I think that's also
but, there's always situations where you get annoyed with somebody.
I think one of the reasons we've been able to not get into fights.
We've sort of got that Stockholm syndrome thing now going for us too. That we've all just lived through this trauma.
Yeah. But it's also because we're working from home now. We're not in the office each day with all of us, because that just doesn't work always.
Yeah, so a little background. Our school teaches game designers.
Yeah.
They don't specifically teach programming. They don't specifically teach art, although they do have game art section, which you already followed. But their core is that they're teaching game design and how games work and why you would want things to work a certain way. And essentially, you shouldn't really have that many game designers on your
No,
team.
you want maybe 2.
You want everybody to be a game designer in their own right, in their own section, but you don't want everybody doing the generalized, big picture game design.
Yeah.
Because then everybody gets in each other's hair all the time.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's what happened. That's what happened to us. We had 5 people all arguing for different general structures of the game.
Because we simply have different opinions on what we think
Yeah, it
should
was
be
like
done with the game.
It was like anarchy, and that sort of reflects in the game too.
Yeah.
Like the anarchy that we felt inside the team sort of comes through in the game.
Yeah, I still think that...
You want to shoot people? Well, that option is there. You want to, cleverly shoot off the miner's hat so that you don't have to do the whole mission and you just pick up the miner's hat.
Okay,
you can
it's
do
possible.
that. You want to have a sort of more dramatic plot line. Like, here you go. Like, if you want to really delve in deep, you can do that. If you want to just stay surface level and skim across the top, just like Stone, just skimming past every character, you can do that.
Yeah, I think it's really...
If you want to explore the world and just see things.
The game,
that's possible.
The game turned into this big Frankenstein because of all our different opinions that all had to get into the game because we all wanted to get our own bit into the game. We all wanted to express ourselves through this game.
And I think actually a lot of AAA games have that too, except for on top of that they add super high production values, which just makes everything extremely expensive to try and accomplish. So we can get away with a lot by saying, oh, it is pixels, like we can get away with saying, okay, we'll just add another little sprite sheet here of 30 frames and that'll do us for the time being, or we'll just add another character that's just that body with that with those pants and that hat.
We don't need to make a unique new face.
If we want to do something, we can just say, oh, let's just take a day and throw something in, see if it works.
Soldier, you call me sir or you'll be on latrines every day till you can't smell your rear from your nostrils.
Yeah, that was a fun one to write. It's always fun to try and write comedy. It's hard.
This is one of the good ones, though, I think.
And
yeah.
It's
also hard, like, I have to try and fit the text in those boxes. Like, that line was probably way too long to start with, and I had to cut it down. And it's like Twitter, like my job is Twitter. I have to fit everything into these like 140 character slots.
I heard the most difficult thing in game development is displaying text.
Yeah, well, we had quite a lot of issues with it. Like, I also do all the fonts in the game. That's sort of like my one little bit of art that I sort of hold on to. My one little visual art aspect is that I do all the fonts. And if you look at the old version of the game, like, the resolution was literally just like, everything was a quarter of the size. All the fonts. So, like, way harder to read and everything. And displaying it, reading it, getting flavor into it to make it feel a little Western, even in the font. And also just fitting it in there, Trying to make it not like 8 different little text boxes in a row all the time. I do that often enough too. It's like a bad habit, but you try and work through it.
So, through it all, what was your favorite part of developing the game?
It being done. It's not really... I mean, it's never really done. The game is never done. Every game developer will tell you the game is never done.
Yeah, it's never done. You can always do more. You can always improve or add or polish, or you can always do something.
I mean...
At some point you have to decide that the game is done.
Even if you look at something like Cannonball, which is super simple, it's not done.
No, you can do
like
a lot more.
like you can tell, like, it doesn't like tell you when the houses are coming up and where the window's coming up clearly enough. You just don't have time enough to figure out some of those things. Things come out of nowhere. Sounds are probably not quite what he wants all the time. A game is never done, but it's nice feeling to know, like, hey, it works.
Yeah,
I just did something I've never done in 14 hours of playtime. Wow. I just got the sheriff. I just got the sheriff to help me, and sort of transport this cargo for the banker. I've never done that, ever.
Yeah, the sheriff is interesting. He's got a whole I redid him. I posted like a screenshot of it a while back, like must be like 7 months back, where I was redoing how the sheriff works, and he's got like a whole attitude system where depending on these missions that you're taking him on, his attitude will change, and his plot progresses not through the missions you do for him, but the missions you pull him onto to try and return him to his former glory.
Man.
So that was complicated to structure.
Oh,
So the sheriff standing in there in the house, that's Wytze who makes that kind of thing happen.
Yeah.
And that he,
This scene.
I saw a reference
this.
to it looks bigger on the outside. It looks bigger on the outside than it is on the, it looks smaller on the outside than it is on the inside.
yeah, bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Yeah, we just like throwing little references in.
Timey-wimey.
It's sort of like, it's always been like this video gamey thing where you never make the house as big on the outside as it is on the inside, because it would just take up way too much space in your overworld, and like you just wouldn't be able to see much, It's just like, oh, here's a huge building that's getting in the way. So it's just sort of funny to match that up with something we like.
And it's also a Doctor Who reference.
Yeah. Also, the first game was sort of way more about the meta-narrative. So
Yeah.
I think we were trying to throw in more of those references, although we threw in a couple this time, too. We threw in a couple Game of Thrones references throughout. I don't know, we threw in all kinds of references. Basically, whatever thing I'm thinking about that day, we just throw in there.
That's awesome. And seeing the sheriff sort of take, he said, tomorrow is the most important thing in life. You go to these statues throughout the game, promises of a future brave and proud, bring the reins of change. So many people think of games in our medium as something very toy-like and juvenile, and these little things sort of point out that games can be something more.
Mm. Yeah, this is Yordi being very poetic.
Oh, so
He's
I'm
got his
complimenting
own-
Yuri, not you.
Yeah, he does
Yuri.
all the little text boxes in the world because he did a lot of the level editing, actually, like just the general
Just
placing
setting
everything,
up the layout.
setting out the layout
Yeah.
for things, because just you really need a visual eye for that.
Have you thought about
and then
using
even-
OpenFL to port to Linux, assuming the version of Air required is too new?
So I think the version of Air required is too new. I think that's probably the issue. But as I said before, I'm not the technical guy.
Yeah,
Beats isn't the technical guy.
Yorick is the technical guy.
Yorick is the guy.
You'll probably look into that still a little, if
No,
possible.
he said it's not possible.
No, it's not
He
possible
said
at
he's
all?
looked into it as much as he can, and it's not
Okay.
possible.
Okay.
So he said we would have to use a different engine.
Yeah, and that pretty much means remaking the technical side of the game again.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
isn't
it's
going to
not gonna
happen very soon. Probably not going to happen.
No, I don't see it happening.
Well, never say never. But I
Fair enough.
don't think it's going to happen. But never say never.
So
Yeah.
this close to release, we're almost finishing up, and I want to thank you again for coming on. It's been a really interesting interview, and I love what you guys have done. I wish you guys the best of luck in whatever you do next. But
Hey, shoot that lizard.
Shoot that lizard. Where? Where is the lizard? Oh, on the
that.
thing. Well, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of people around.
Yeah, just shoot the lizard.
They
Just hit it. Make sure you hit it.
Make
They-
sure you hit the lizard.
everybody's pulling out their guns.
That's okay. Just as long as they see you hit the lizard, they'll realize you're not trying to shoot them.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's not trying to shoot us. He's just shooting the lizard.
No,
Bolas.
Bola's not going to work. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
So you're a little bit in the past. I just shot off the lizard, and it's just running around now.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
It's just you showing your skills.
You just had me almost pissed. I'm sorry. Tick off an entire town to shoot a lizard off the
Gotta
side
have guts, man. Come on.
of founder of
You're a
Clint,
cowboy.
founder of Clintville, East Clintwood.
Yeah. Some of our references are pretty on the nose.
Yeah. It's still one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I also like is when you get Indians to take over the town, the statue is actually replaced with a statue of the chief
Yeah.
and it says founder of Glenionville, chief.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing I enjoyed most when I was working on this, just the tiny stupid details.
The tiny details, yeah.
And also, like, there's this scene at some point in Glenville where you know, there's someone died and the Undertaker's there and there's the coffin on the ground.
Did you ever see that?
Yeah, yeah.
If you shoot the Undertaker at that point, then the coffin will remain in Glenville.
He never comes to pick it up again.
No.
Well, that's kind of interesting now, considering we changed him.
I know. I didn't change that on purpose. I was like,
Okay.
nah.
He's just like, I'm done here.
Yeah, I'm done here. Not gonna do that.
Is it hard to not get caught up in the minutia and to sort of say that, okay, it's finished now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think people see, like, that's the stuff that makes something a game, like, or that makes it like a product,
Yeah,
you know, or not a product, but just makes it a piece, you know, makes it a whole. Is minutia, and like if you ignore minutia, you could have the most like technically clean, perfect game, but
it's
it
not
will have no
interesting.
soul, you know.
Yeah.
And I think a Western game without soul is just, you're missing the point.
A lot of
West.
a lot of the stuff in the game challenges your morality, and specifically you see that in characters like Miss Tressabelle, and in how you can shoot everybody, including the sheriff. When you were approaching how you challenge somebody's morality, was there ever a call from the top from Adult Swim Games to tone it down, or did you guys ever personally was it ever personally challenging for you to be like, I don't agree with this, but I'm still going to give the player that option?
Almost never from a morality standpoint.
I actually like the sort of moral ambiguous
ambiguity?
yeah, because I don't know, I like to put players into situations where they're sort of uncomfortable with what they're doing or what they're being asked to do, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I just find it more interesting than players mindlessly doing whatever they want to do. It just
And also,
yeah.
the West is just all about exploring that in-between space.
Yeah.
You know, I always say, like, a lot of Westerns don't have the hero really being a hero. He's just another character. You know, Blondie is just a guy in the West, and they say he's the good, but the only reason he's the good is because he leaves somebody stranded with their hands tied behind their back, but he leaves them with 2 bags of gold. But they don't have a horse, you know, but he leaves them with what they're owed. You know, he sticks to his word, which makes him good, but that doesn't mean he has to let evil run rampant and do what they want, but it also doesn't mean he has to kill everybody. You know, he walks that line really well. And I think it's interesting because you are always walking a line. You're always, and like everybody's perspective is different on a situation, so it's not like everyone can see it as good or bad from their perspective. Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of rambly. I sort of rambled.
No,
Rambling,
I love
fine.
I love the rambly. It's very timey-wimey. It's very wibbly-wobbly.
So yeah, we wanted to explore that. I really like the point where if you get into a plot and then you get to the end and you realize, oh, I should have done something different. Like, you were more like just put them at the start into an ambiguous situation and then then you just deal with the consequences afterwards. Like, you're just there and you're like, just like, oh, this feels nasty. But like, I like getting them to do something and they're not really super conscious of it. They're just sort of doing it, and then they sort of think afterwards, like, hey, why did I?
It's sort of
Why
like
did I go
it's
down
sort
that
of like the "Would you kindly" moment in BioShock. Only you have control over it, and that was personally my experience. I'd go through a plot line, and then suddenly be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person," because I'd realize like I could have just stopped at any time, but I was just doing what the game told me, because the game told me. I was just following orders.
Yeah, I mean, we actually give the player agency.
And I love I just love Wytze's just grin just in the background. He's just smiling like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of, I don't know. I like people having to think about what they do in a game instead of
Yeah.
being, you know, it's not...
He is not.
No.
We are both very tired because it's like 3 in the morning and we had heavy days.
Yeah. Heavy days.
So
heavy
we're just
weeks.
tired.
Heavy months.
Heavy months, yeah.
Heavy year.
Yeah, in my release message on Facebook to all my friends, I was like, now to make up for weeks of sleep. 60-hour work week sometimes. Not high. But you were saying...
I don't know what I was saying.
Now he's lost his train of thought.
We were talking about how you love putting people in those situations.
Yeah. I just think it's more interesting because it gets people to think about their actions rather than just...
Does it sort of reveal a part of the player that they may
Yeah.
not have realized about themselves?
Yeah.
Play reveals parts of the player, and I think a lot of games are actually missing play. You're not really playing with what you're doing or why you're doing it. You're playing with how you're doing it,
Yeah.
and even the how is often like how skilled you are.
It's really just
It's
playing
a skill play.
efficiently.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not so much about choice and
And many games don't even require you to play efficiently, But I mean, a lot of indie games have gotten on that by making you play super efficiently.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's not really that interesting for us. I don't think that's really what play is for. Play is there to explore those kind of questions. I mean, even old school games like Monopoly, were meant there to explore what's it like to be a guy who is, funding everybody else's poverty. You keep giving them a little bit of money just to keep going around the board. You're just being like a rich bastard, essentially, just keeping them just alive enough to collect money for you.
It's probably why I don't like the game.
Like that should make you feel awful, and like some people don't feel awful in that, and maybe they learn something about themselves, and maybe they don't, But
They
like
learn
you
that
can tell by the reactions of the people around you, like stuff is going down here, and that's just from the play,
Dang. This dude is like Batman. He's dodging everything.
People are really good at dodging bolas from very close by. Like if you throw it from a ways away, you might have more luck. I mean, he can see you. You're standing right next to him. Try
This is
standing some
hilarious.
distance away.
And then I accidentally went to the
Look,
murderer's hideout.
You got him when he was looking away, and that's when you got him. The cat just sneezed.
Sneezy cat.
There you go.
And now that my bounty's gone.
Oh, wow. The murder showed up.
You.
I don't know if you did that intentionally.
No, that was an accident.
Oh, there's your wanted bandit. He
Huh?
came along.
How did you even?
Where is he now?
He's,
How-
I think he might still be at the train station, actually. Try going back there. To the train station.
game development!
So what happened there was you brought a wanted bandit to the horse, but because you had your bolas out, the murderer actually saw that as a threat and ran to the horse
Yeah,
and
but
jumped on it. And then so the player jumped on it and followed the murderer to the
what
hideout.
happened?
And then when he got back on the horse, the game was like, oh, but what about that wanted bandit? Was supposed to come with you on the horse at some point, so now you got him again.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he wasn't actually in the level you started at, and he wasn't in the level you ended at, so the game was just like, put him in the transition, but not in either of the places. Slight problem, but you've got it working out. I mean, these are just the issues,
So I got a spare.
Oh,
If you
she
find
can-
someone, you send them my way.
So this is interesting. Have you caught that many wanted bandits?
I don't think. I haven't caught that many alive.
Interesting.
What's going on here? Oh! The sheriff did it! The sheriff.
Uh-huh.
The sheriff's doing stuff now. He's not a lazy bum anymore. I feel like
Yeah.
a hero. Now
just-
I now need to shoot somebody in the face again to make myself feel like a morally ambiguous person exposing myself through play or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, just because you help somebody else, realize themselves doesn't mean you've gone there yet.
Yeah, so
We may still have a long way to go.
so no matter what good stuff I do, I can always be a terrible person still. I always got that choice.
Yeah, you could shoot the sheriff.
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
And you've still got so much to explore here.
Yeah, actually, I was really surprised because I saw my percentage explored was over 100%, and then I saw it keep going up to over 130, and then I got the achievement that said, "Blame math."
Yeah.
And
Blame
yeah,
math.
Westerado is this really unique experience that I don't think I'm gonna forget. I'm writing an entire article about how you guys made me feel like a terrible person. You guys hit me that hard. And so yeah.
Looking forward to it. I mean, we can make a Scottish guy cry,
And
we can make you write an article. That's agency.
that's agency right there. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on and for supporting GamesMatter. If you guys follow at GamesMatter HQ on Twitter and ask right after this, we're going to be giving away copies of Westerado thanks to the game development team. Only thing you need to do in return, if you guys know GamesMatter, is help the developer. Do a Let's Play, do a Steam broadcast, do a Steam review, do some tweets, tell your friends about the game, buy the game, buy several copies. How many copies can they buy? How many copies should they buy?
Infinity.
How many copies should you buy? One.
No.
One for yourself.
One for each person you know.
I'm not gonna say like buy more than one for yourself. Well, you could buy two, one for each hand.
Yeah, that works.
I don't think
Also,
you're gonna get
just, like-
very far with one hand.
Just
though.
like if you can, like just tell reviewers or other YouTubers, you know, like
yeah,
cover this. That'll help us a lot too.
and
just anything
Steam
you can.
reviews are useful. Very
Steam
useful.
reviews,
Um,
all kinds of stuff. You know, all
Yeah.
the stuff. Like, favorite, subscribe
And if you don't,
to.
and if you aren't convinced yet that this
GamesMatter.
game is something really special, there's no need for violence.
So, like, I did a pacifist run earlier today, and I made it through with 6 kills to the murder.
Ah, wow, you were able to do that?
Yeah, I did have some allies who were helping me kill people. I didn't kill people directly with my own hand a lot of the time.
So I just robbed the bank,
You can definitely do that.
and I'm just showing.
proper
If you guys
right
don't
on it.
believe that this game is absolutely insane, watch what happens. You don't get to rob the bank. This outlaw's going to escape to the West Block. I was so surprised because I was like, oh. And then suddenly, because the first time I went through this section, I was like, oh, I'll just go out the back. And then I was like, oh, I'll go out the south. I'll go out the east. And then they blocked everything. And I was running around. And everybody's dying. This,
Everybody's going so wild, they're shooting each other and everything. Yep. That's the chaos you can cause.
this is Westerado. Thanks again, guys. And support. Support the Ostrich Banditos. Support GamesMatter. And, yeah.
Thank you
guys,
for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, supporting. And get some sleep, guys. You need it.
yeah, definitely need some sleep.
We definitely will.
And we wish you the best of success. Without further ado, this has been Nelson and the Ostrich Banditos signing off.
Bye.
Thanks for being